We are the Fantasy Fools.
The first annual Fantasy Fools podcast with my good friend Samuel, my good friend Kemp.
It's an honor to be back with you, gentlemen. I know it's been a while. Looking forward to
hear the excitement.
We're doing this podcast now.
I'm ready to do this
Kim,
thing.
how are you feeling?
I mean, I'm pumped. I'm psyched. I'm stoked. I am like on cloud 11 right now. Gibbons, Sam, give us your doer outlook for the 2022.
You guys just want to get right into the gush?
Preseason Gush.
Well, okay, so this is kind of a combination. I'm a little bit suspicious of having Kim take every note here and then bid up every player that I talk about in a couple of weeks, right? In this category, I'm kind of anchoring it on people that I enjoyed watching in 21. So my Q is going to be Joe Burrow. Guy came back from a major knee injury and led the Bengals to the Super Bowl. From a fantasy and statistical perspective, he had an incredible December. He and Jamar Chase both had incredible Decembers. I know that game against the Chiefs stands out where Jamar Chase, it felt like, had like 700 yards receiving in one game. Joe Burrow is still very young, and he's brought a lot of sort of cachet and swag back to a franchise that really, our entire lives as the closest franchise to where we grew up, had almost none of it. And so
the Bayou Brady, I like it.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, he spent 1 year or literally 2 years in the Bayou, but sure.
I love it. Guys, I've been thinking a lot about this. I was slaving away last night, going back and forth. And I'm going with Trey Lance, baby. I'm going with Trey Lance. I am head over heels. I am in love. I got him down for 3,500 passing yards, 27 pass TDs, 750 rush yards, and 12 rush TDs. I think he's going to be like a Mahomes type impact guy after his rookie year. I saw the preseason game. I saw the 76-yard pass.
He did almost 50 total touchdowns.
No, I have him at 39. 39 total touchdowns. 27.
27.
Did I say 37?
I thought you said 37.
You said 27. I'm hearing anywhere between 35 and 75 touchdowns for Trey Lance. Is that the range?
I mean,
it was a hard decision for him to pick Lance on this one too.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't see straight. I have the red and gold color glasses on, but
I mean, I do think in all seriousness, like if you look at where he's ranked among QBs, he's this clear player in the QB spot this year where if he's sort of slotted in at most rankings around like QB 13, QB 14, QB 15, and he can have that sort of pretty high rushing floor that you're talking about, that almost automatically becomes a good deal.
I mean, Shanahan's rushing attack too. Think about all these option stuff they're going to do. Yeah. He wasn't around for Kaepernick, but I just get shades of like Kaepernick cantering down the field, especially against Green Bay. Sorry, Sam. I know I bring it up all the time, but
that's okay.
200 rushing yards. Oh my God. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about it. I'm excited.
Tank.
An excitable boy, Kempster.
I have to go with my man QB, Baker Mayfield. He is. This is his year. All right. Wow. If you want to talk about guys that I am going, I mean, I wanted to go the Bayou Brady with Joe Burrow, but I figured that was a little too obvious. So I kind of went with the who am I planting my flag on? It's got to be Baker Mayfield. If it's not this year, it'll never happen. Baker is my guy. He's got DJ Moore there now, who's he's up there with one of my most clutch wide receivers in the league. All the guy does is get 1,000-yard seasons every year since he's
just
been in the
barely,
league.
Just barely.
But look what his options have been. A terrible Cam Newton.
No, that's true. That's true.
Kyle Allen. whoever
Darnold.
it was last year, the Sam Darnold, whoever else.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got Christian McCaffrey, but I don't want to say too much about Christian McCaffrey. But you know, I do think this is Baker's year. It's Baker's turn. He's watched everybody else have their day in the sun. Now it's Baker's time.
Nice.
Okay, I have two things to
Plant my
say there.
flag
First
on
off, leading off with Baker Mayfield conveys to me that Kemp is revealing none of his battle plans and that this is a fundamentally unserious list that he's compiled.
I'm telling you right now. It's on my list.
Number two, within 25 seconds of talking about him, you had to immediately start going on about DJ Moore, and then you just switched it entirely to DJ Moore, which to me is a sign that there are some potential question marks about Baker.
So, Cam, how much would you bid for Baker Mayfield? I'm just curious.
Give us an exact dollar amount.
I mean, let's just put it this way. I don't think I'm going to need to bid a lot.
You probably
on Baker
won't.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
So
negative $5.
You weren't going to.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the price is right, I will. I mean, what do you want me to say here? Oh, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be good. You know, of course, everybody knows he's going to be good for fantasy.
Not necessarily.
You know, it's
he was
like,
pretty. He was he was really up and down last year, Jalen Hurts. I don't know if it's guaranteed.
I mean, I interpreted your question on who your favorite players are. You know, like who am I really wanting to see do good this year so I can shove it in Sam Abramson's face?
He has a chip on his shoulder.
I mean,
sure.
I don't. It's not like I think about Sam. You know, I don't think about him all that much. But I mean, it's not like I have this.
All right, moving on to running back.
It's not like you turn into a different person when Sam's around trying to impress him. It's not at all. It's
all right. So I am gonna do one that actually is probably a little more in the Baker Mayfield lane in terms of being off the beaten path. So by no means do I think that this guy is going to finish, top 5, top 10, or RB1 status this year. And part of that is related to the situation he's in. But I do think he's very talented and he's a fun guy to have on your team, as I can attest to. So that guy that I have here is Tony Pollard of the Cowboys.
Ooh.
I think he's got a lot of. He reminded me a lot of times last year of Jamal Charles. We know that Zeke was clearly not healthy, but Jerry Jones, the owner / general manager / overlord of the Cowboys, was insistent on just pounding Zeke into the ground for 2.5 yards a carry. And so it really kind of inhibited Pollard's ability. But this guy can run out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. He returns kickoffs in some cases. And he's one of those Simmons, to go back to the OG days of Gaudy. He's one of those guys that if you get him in space, he's quite dangerous. And could he last? Could he hold up if you gave him 250, 270 touches a year? Probably not. But I do think it would be fun to see him get a little more work because he's clearly a guy who has a lot of talent. And I would expect, if he can stay healthy, keep bearing in mind that they're coached by a halfwit and Mike McCarthy, I would assume that Pollard can have a rather good season and can definitely be kind of a flex or an RB2 option if he is used correctly.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly better than Zeke right now. I honestly, like, looking at them play last year, it didn't seem that close. So much more burst. And I like that Jamal Charles comp. That's interesting, Sam. You got me thinking. I wrote down that name. I'm not necessarily gonna try to auction.
Well, I mean, I'm looking to draft him for about $7. And I just wanted you guys to know.
All right. Well, I am gonna go to another. I wouldn't say Pollard's like a water bug, but he's kind of like a satellite back, space back, whatever the hell. Stupid.
He's got water bug tendencies.
Yeah. Now, I Wouldn't normally want to draft a player from this team. And I just recently started researching this player, and it's a little risky pick. Okay. It's a little bit of a risky pick here. I'm going to go with Travis Etienne. Okay. The lowly Jaguars. Listen, I think the Jaguars are going to be coming from behind constantly. I don't really respect Trevor Lawrence yet, but I think they're going to be, he has a rapport with Etienne. I think they're going to be in a lot of garbage time, a lot of dump offs. Etienne is going to be a focal point. They said he's going to be on the field, even when maybe James Robinson is back and healthy. In the slot, he's going to be coming out of the backfield. What can I say? I like me some water bugs. I like me some pass catching backs. I'm projecting. I'm projecting.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say that's where he's going to be good is in the pass catching game.
Exactly. I love the pass catching backs, as you know.
Simmons,
So
can you give us a slight robot voice for stats?
I'm going 100. I'm projecting 175 carries, 725 yards, 79 catches, 750 receiving yards, 8 total touchdowns. So I'm giving him like 1,500 yards. I'm a little concerned about the rushing, honestly, especially after seeing him in preseason. He still looks like he needs to like get his legs under him after
ACL, wasn't it?
I think it was ACL. Okay, good, because he kind of like
James Robinson tore his Achilles.
He's going to be a pass catcher. He's going to be the third down guy. He's going to be the 2-minute guy at the very least. And he'll be in on passing downs. And I think, this guy's a big draft. He's like one of their big draft picks, a lot more draft capital than James Robinson, James Robinson was awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. Love James Robinson, but I'm willing to spend up a little bit for ETN just to see if he can be that, like, Charlie Garner type, gets like 800 rushing, 800 receiving, and like 8 total touchdowns, and just be kind of consistent, get a lot of receptions. And they're going to be down constantly. Again, they'll be down. They're going to be down pretty much every game. He's going to be back. He's going to be getting dump offs. Just visions of 14 targets, 10 catches, 80 yards, a touchdown, and 15 rushes for 12 rushing yards and a touchdown, something like that.
750
yards.
Touchdown.
I put the stats into my computer.
You gotta get that Kraftwerk voice.
Beep, boop, beep, boop.
All right, I was waxing poetically about Nick Chubb as my running back that I was leaning towards, because again, one of these steady guys that always gets overlooked in drafts, but I mean, because he doesn't catch the ball, but he's still pound for pound, I want to say, because granted bias because I have to watch him every week, but he's one of the best running backs in football. The guy does not go down. The troublesome thing for me with Nick Chubb and not being able to not catching any passes is that it's not like he can't catch. He's a really good pass catcher. They just don't throw him the ball for some reason. I think he's smart. He's a team player, which really, I mean, at the end of the day, that counts so much for me.
It counts fantasy, team player,
especially for fantasy. Got a team player. That counts a lot in my book. But I'm also going to give you a dark horse here for a favorite, Javonte Williams. I think there's a chance
bastard
that there's I think he's being blocked by Melvin Gordon right now. But I think his upside, that if something were to happen to Melly G, that I think his Javonte Williams upside is that running back 1 tier.
Yeah, you stole one of my future picks for a later category.
Back. I want to take you to something that Kemp said, which is that he has to watch Nick Chubb. Kemp, you could just pay for NFL Red Zone because this is in 1980. Right, so you're not
even that expensive.
I don't actually. To be honest, I don't really like NFL Red Zone.
That's a strong take in this day and
Yeah,
age.
I'm not that big of a fan. Like I don't like I like to watch the game.
Just sit there and watch Browns Steelers.
I'd rather watch an actual football game.
Okay.
You know.
Well,
It's like, oh, let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there, let's go here.
Yeah.
It's too much for me. I can't do it.
It really is overstimulating, but in a good way for me. I'm just like, oh, I can't leave. I have to stay. I have to pee here. I have to eat here.
What really pissed me off is that they would show Patriots games and then they would go away from the Patriots games.
Great.
And it really gets to, I'm like, why are you leaving the Patriots?
So
two players that I had on my team last year that I could have used in this category that are on separate teams, but because I do want to acknowledge how great they were Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase. I've already kind of talked about Burrow. I feel like Kupp will come up at some point. So the guy I'm going to talk about in terms of gushing for his 2021, and perhaps thinking about his 2022 is Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, I confess I haven't thought through a exact stat line for him. He's also a player who like it's sort of hard to think about an exact stat line. The ball in so many different ways. He reminds me of my old flame there, Anquan Bolden. Although I will say, I feel like he had a better season last year than Bolden had. At any particular, he's like a really physical receiver. Simmons, I don't need to tell you these things because you watched him on a weekly basis. Although, since you are willing to pay for Red Zone, you watched it by choice. You weren't forced to watch them because you sat there in a dark room watching one game.
It was,
I know that Brandon Ayuk has sort of, from what I've read, has really had a good training camp.
Looks good.
I think he could be good, but I think that this is still Deebo's. In a lot of ways, this is still actually Deebo's team, and I think Deebo's durability last year really puts him, at least going into this season, in terms of offensive skill players and how to center that game plan. I think it puts him a little above Kittle at this point. So
Yak Bros. They call him the Yak Bros.
Yeah, glad he got paid. He's an absolute yak beast, and certainly a fun player to own in fantasy. I'm envisioning very rough kind of statistical considerations here, but I'm envisioning Shanahan trying to get the ball in his hands in some capacity 12 to 15 times a game for the whole year.
So as far as wide receivers go, I mean, I like to study the game. I like to watch the whole game. I don't like to do highlights.
40 seconds.
My style. So I think if you look at the broad spectrum of work, I'm loving Terry McLaurin.
Nice.
I don't think he gets the respect he deserves because he's on Washington, but the guy is just the total package. He runs routes well. He can catch the ball. He can make these acrobatic catches. He had this one catch versus the San Diego LA Chargers last year that, I mean, the way he would turn around to catch the ball and go out of bounds at the same time, staying in with 2 feet in, it's amazing. And doing terrible quarterback play seems to be a theme. All my favorite wide receivers have to deal with terrible quarterback play. McLaurin is a beast, and I think if we can get Sam Howell starting lineup there, get some wins to the curb, I think we're going to see good things this year.
Nice. I love it. I love Terry McLaurin. He is a beast.
I'm going to taking notes there. Key part of Kemp's evaluation for the receiver is that he can catch the ball.
Dude, I mean, how many? Look at N'Keal Harry.
Dinner plate hands, N'Keal.
Yeah. I mean, or Philip Dorsett as well.
Yeah, Jeff Janis.
Shots fired at Janis.
Wow.
All right, I'm gonna go. My wide receiver.
Remember Arizona game that he had like 300 was the whole reason they won the game.
Yeah, that was like his one shining moment, but he was
never
amazing.
got another shot.
Yeah, he got blackballed for some reason. Actually, there was a pretty good reason.
Aaron Rodgers.
My pick is Hunter Renfrow.
Ooh.
Okay.
He was originally on my list.
A lot of people, I see a lot of pundits like, oh, he's not going to get the same volume. That was because everybody was out at the end of the year. That's why he got force fed by Derek Carr. Derek Carr can't support Devontae Adams and Waller and Hunter Renfrow. I don't agree with it. I observed Josh McDaniels' offenses with the Patriots. And you know what Hunter Renfrow is going to do? He's going to be Wes Welker reborn. Okay. He's going to get single coverage. He's going to be in the slot. He is going to, I have him projected for 105 catches, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to be like a world beater. I think he's going to get a lot of catches. He's going to be consistent. He's not going to get a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to be a chain mover. And I'm excited to see what he does. I honestly do think he's going to be like a Julian Edelman, Wes Welker
kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Lunch pail. And also Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have to mention him because he is another guy that I am head over heels with. And I think he's going to have a similar type output this year because he was amazing at the end of last year. And also
late season monster.
Oh, what a monster he was. So I'm excited for both those guys.
Yeah. I love the Renfrow pick. Renfrow is weird. Renfrow could go on the leather diaper. He could go on like a variation of the water bug. He's a guy who
exactly
I feel like is very interchangeable in a lot of parts. And I'm sure Kemp, as he was
a walk on at Clemson. Nobody gave this kid a chance.
Okay.
They said go back and go to your steel job at the steel mill. Nobody wants you. And he said, I'm going to put my working boots on and I'm coming to practice.
Yeah, he was like a character in a Bruce Springsteen song. That's right. Okay. So tight end. So I went with Kyle Pitts. Only 1 touchdown last year. I think there are real questions as to whether the Falcons actually should have spent a top 5 or 6 or whatever it was pick on a tight end, but he was a fun player to watch. I think if you look at the entirety of what a tight end does, he's obviously mostly like a receiver. He's lined up a lot like a receiver. Tight end is kind of more of just like a technicality with him, right? He can't block the way that Gronk or Kittle can block, but he did have some really incredible catches and some great routes last year.
And he's like a wide receiver, basically. He's just a wide receiver.
I'm a believer in Mariota as like a 2 or 3 year solution there. Pitts is going to be a big target. He only had 1 touchdown. He can't block and he can't do all the things that a more complete tight end like Gronkowski or Kittle can do, but he is a great receiving option. And I do think, Simmons or Kemp, Simmons, I guess you talked about draft capital with Travis Etienne. It's also true of someone like Kyle Pitts as high as they drafted him. He's surely going to have positive TD regression. I mean, I'd be willing to bet anything. He's going to have more than 1 touchdown this year, and he's a fun player to watch and to follow. And frankly, tight end is just kind of a dead position as it tends to be at a lot of times. It doesn't seem like a particularly deep position this year. So Pitts was a pretty easy call for me here.
Nice. I'm going to jump in here. I'm going with Gerald Everett. Now, it's a little bit of a, I would say, dark horse at best kind of pick. I actually thought he was going to be great last year. I was completely wrong about that. So I don't know. I just look at Justin Herbert. I looked at how he targeted the tight ends last year. Yes, they're going to have Parham there as well with the Chargers. And I think he's monstrous. He's like 6'6", 6'8", and he's an enormous man. So he's going to be involved too. But I think they brought in Everett. There's been a lot of talk of like chemistry between him and Herbert. And Herbert, Sam can attest. He's had him on his team. He is an absolute beast, and he's going to blow up this year. He's going to get even better. So I want to be connected to that offense. I think Gerald Everett's a good value pick. Like he's going undrafted or he's going for like $1 or $2. So I got him down, put it in the stat machine. I got him down for 65 catches, 718 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a red zone target. I'm excited for him. I hope he doesn't burn me again. If I
65
draft him, that
catches,
is.
740 yards.
65 catches.
I totally thought you were going to draft him until you threw that curveball in there.
If
Well,
I draft him.
See, now that changes everything.
I definitely
It does
pulled
sort
him.
of it does seem like, and I know this has been said, I'm sure somewhere, but like when you look at all of the offensive firepower in that division in the AFC West,
Oh, I can't wait for that
like
division.
there's going to be a lot of 38, at least a lot of 38 to 35 or 41 to 38 games.
Yep.
And if we're in the business of stats, you kind
We
of
are.
just want that, you want that there in any capacity that you can get it.
For sure. For sure. Kempster, what do you got?
Yeah,
The la-
to piggyback on Sam's observation about tight ends being a dead zone. I mean, you got your obvious picks, your Kelseys, Andrews, Wallers, Kittle, what have you, and then it's just a bunch of So I actually have a few of them, but in for time constraints, I'm just going to go Dalton Schultz, Dallas. I think with recent developments of James Washington getting hurt, with Michael Gallup still are, I think he's on
Oh God. Kemp, you're
Am I off? Am I off?
you were breaking up.
No, that was beautiful.
You froze.
You nailed it.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah,
Okay.
you were breaking up. And then you froze. Then you froze like you were like
Dalton Schultz. I'm gonna list 4 guys.
You were like,
it was like the guys came in and edited you. Like, all right, cut him off air.
All right. So Dalton Schultz, James Washington is hurt. Michael Gallup is not playing right now. Amari Cooper got traded. A lot of targets are up for grabs. You've only got CeeDee Lamb, who I like, and that's basically and Jalen Tolbert, the rookie, who I also like as a sleeper. But I think he's got a rapport with Dak Prescott. There's a huge amount of vacated targets. I think he's going to be the beneficiary of that. And you're going to see them or Dak Prescott funnel passes to Dalton Schultz, especially when they get in the red zone. So I do think it could be a big year for Schultz. I do think he's kind of getting overpriced at this point. So I'd probably be looking later in the draft. But if the price is right.
What's your price for him? Just curious.
Well, I don't think I'd go anything over $10.
Good to know. Good to know.
$9, $8. I don't think I'd go anything over $8. $7 would be my maximum.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Let's shift into Waterbug of the Year.
Excuse me, chef. There's a cockroach in my gumbo. Oh, that right here? They're just a little water bug.
Waterbug of the Year.
Sam, do you want to quickly explain what a water bug is?
So a water bug, and I have this on our sheet as well. It's sort of basically a smaller running back that can be in stature, or that can be in weight, or that can be in both, who is sort of seen more as a guy who gets his totals from passing and kind of creative ways to get the ball instead of the kind of classic 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
A beetle back, if you will. It's not a beetle back, it's a water bug. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
A scamperer. So like if we're
Beetle
thinking
back.
of classic water bugs, you think about someone certainly like Darren Sproles, right? King water bug himself.
Yes.
Dexter McCluster.
Okay, sure.
That's a good pull. I like that.
I feel like in his good years, Brian Westbrook was quite good as a water bug. He would
Charlie Garner, Brian
Garner.
Westbrook. Westbrook
Yes.
was amazing. Yeah, Westbrook is
Before
great.
his injuries, like Tariq Cohen's 2018 was like
that
an
was
all
Chef's kiss.
time water bug season.
Chef's kiss.
Human
for that.
joy-
Those are the
joystick.
guys. Those are the guys that we think about when we think of water bug.
For sure.
So I
Well, really quick, I want to cut in because just because my water bug is also Travis Etienne. So why don't you guys take it away, because I already said my spiel for him.
Well, actually, I have something someone in a similar vein there, Simmons because, Etienne obviously gets hurt at the start of his rookie year, so he's never actually played an NFL down. This is essentially going to be his rookie year. I am also going with a player who has never played NFL football, and again, we don't have his exact measurables on tap here. Wikipedia says he's 5'11" and 190, which is good enough for me for a slender kind of back, and that is going to be James Cook of the Bills, a rookie out of Georgia.
Ooh, that's a deep pull. I like that.
The brother of Dalvin Cook. The Bills are an offense that is expected to really put up a lot of volume this year. Obviously, a lot of that funnels through Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox, Josh Allen running around like a decapitated farm animal half the time, right? But I also think that the idea that Devin Singletary is going to be given a full workload out of the backfield, or that he's going to be relied on to stay healthy, I think those are probably two pretty far-fetched things. And so Cook is a guy brother of Dalvin Cook, but Cook is a guy who really, I think, was pretty lightly used at Georgia, very explosive player. And I'm not going to say, but based on where he was drafted, he's not a Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley kind of talent coming out of college, but this is an opportunity kind of pull for me, right? If he were on the Texans, I don't think I'd have him on this list, but I think being on the Bills, he's going to have a chance to generate a lot of stats, and I think he can make some noise as a water bug.
Is he getting talked up? I haven't heard a lot lot about him, but I haven't been paying attention to the Bills.
Well, I mean,
he was the second running back.
He is now.
Or the third running back selected in the draft.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Headlines.
awesome.
Fuckleheads tout Cook.
Fuckleheads say Cook going to break out in 2020, 2023.
Well, let's put a pin on that actually, because I'm disappointed. I mean, Waterbug of the Year, that's a pretty prestigious award. We just don't hand it out to anybody. And there's not a bigger fan of Travis Etienne and James Cook than yours truly. I love those guys, but they haven't played an NFL down. We don't know what these guys are. All right, if we want to predict Waterbug of the Year, we got to go with somebody that's been there, that's done that is stable, I don't want to say stable, but it's got a chance for upside. So obviously we're gonna go a little bit more elevated here. We're gonna go with the good pick. We're gonna go with Kenny Gainwell out of Philly. I think he's one of these dynamic running backs from Memphis. I mean, talk about running back university, if you want to ask me, with Antonio Gibson.
I don't really want to ask you.
Yeah.
Jonathan Stewart. But isn't he behind like 5 running backs?
Kenny Gainwell. No. Okay. He is now. Miles Sanders is technically still the starter. But Miles Sanders was on an interview earlier this offseason saying don't draft him, that the team doesn't use him correctly, to not draft him in fantasy.
I think you're thinking of D'Angelo Williams, by the way. He went to Memphis.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's a Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, they were the same guy basically.
They kind of were. Yeah.
They were.
They formed into one person. They became one.
They ran together as a double-headed monster. It's tough to bring out.
But I thought Kenny Gainwell shined out over Miles Sanders last year and kind of took the reins of that backfield last year sneakily. And I think he's he's already being hyped up in training camp of taking that job, or at least it being a 50-50 split with Miles Sanders. That backfield scares me. I mean, I think Kenny Gainwell is going to rise above, be that back that at the end of the season we're going to look back on and say that was the back that should have been owned in the Philly backfield.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is Jalen Hurts his propensity not to throw to the running back. Like, that's the only thing that concerns me about that pick. But it's interesting. He was really good last year. So
he does have some explosive tendencies. Miles Sanders too is just he's a weird player. It's like he's been hyped.
It's hard.
You watch some highlights. If you're watching Red Zone, he'll break off like a huge run. But then sometimes you look at his box scores at the end of certain weeks, and it doesn't feel like RB1 or RB2 worthy. But he's always been held in high regard. Looking at rankings this year, this seems like this is the first year in his this is third or fourth year. This is kind of the first year where I think the consensus ranks don't give Miles Sanders the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And that's going to give Gainwell at least some opportunity. So
he's been hurt a lot too. Sanders has been hurt a lot too. He's like Boston Scott was in there. It was a total mess.
Yeah.
I also think you could go Nyheim Hines too. That's another one.
Oh, he's great. But he's just never used. I mean, Taylor meant he was never used.
I like that pick though, Kemp, because Matt Ryan he's like more Phillip Rivers-esque, and he will throw the ball to the running back. And that's not a bad pick, but I think Jonathan Taylor is just going to be a monster. So
Frank Reich, you've been hearing the quotes that Frank Reich has been given on Nyheim Hines.
What's he been saying?
Like if I were playing fantasy football, I'd make sure I draft Nyheim Hines this year.
Yeah,
I don't like to get into all the head coaching hype.
Yeah.
I always take that shit with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
cool. But I mean, it's something to note,
Okay, I wrote it down. Maybe I'll put 50 cents on him in the draft. Wish we could do decimals.
I feel like Simmons has been the owner of Nyheim Hines like in the last 3 seasons.
He's fucking burned me so much. Like my love for him has destroyed my fantasy teams.
The
honestly.
talent is there. Like if that guy
every time I play him, he gets like 0 points, and then I'll like drop him, and he'll get like 2 touchdowns and 10 receptions. It's like it drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah,
he's a best ball.
If he were on the Chiefs,
for
though,
sure.
Like imagine his potential. That's another situation example,
Yeah. If he was used correctly, he'd be amazing. Like if there was a need for him, but I feel like Jonathan Taylor is just this like fucking Hulk-like beast and cannot be stopped. All right, let's go on to leather diaper of the year.
Leather diaper winner of the year.
So leather diaper of the year. I'm not going to explain what it is. I think you'll get the gist, listener, if this is the first time you've heard this. I'm going to go with the ultimate. Well, I'm not going to say the ultimate. He's kind of like the new kid on the block, Like, you got Hunter Renfrow, you got Cooper Kupp, you got, Adam Thielen over there on the corner, singing doo-wop and, causing trouble, yelling at girls that walk by, this is like the 1950s, and there's, there's Studebakers, and there's, and then this kid
invading their personal space.
Yeah. This kid in the leather jacket comes by. He's like kind of the new kid. He's got blonde hair. He's really small, but he's like kind of like Michael J. Fox and
Speaking of the beginning of The Outsiders.
Yeah, exactly. I'm speaking of Braxton Berrios.
Oh,
okay. Now you guys might be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No.
They have Elijah Moore. I
love this.
They just gave this guy a 2-year, $12 million contract. Okay. He's returning kicks. He had like a ton of kickoff return yards last year. He was sneaky, super involved at the end of last year. Like in his last 4 games, he had games of 10 targets and 11 targets. And that was partially due to, actually at 12 targets. It was partially due to Elijah Moore being out there, had some injuries, but they genuinely liked it. This guy is the slot receiver, I believe. I mean, he won't be a full-time out there all the time guy, but he's going to be out there like, all passing downs. And he had 4 total TDs in that 4-game stretch, including 2 rush TDs. He's involved in the rushing game. They'll give him like 2 to 3 rushes a game. He had a kickoff return TD in that 4-game stretch. So I'm thinking of like a pale-faced homeless man's version of Tyreek Hill from the Alex Smith days. You remember that when he first came on the scene? He was involved in like all 3 phases, not defense, obviously, but he was involved in rushing, special teams, getting a lot of receptions. So
he was in there on defense. You just didn't see him. He was there.
He's small enough to play cornerback for sure. He's quick enough. God knows. Yeah. So I think he got more involved at the end of the year. They rewarded him with a contract, and they're going to be coming from behind constantly. He's going to be in the game a lot, and I just think he's gonna surprise some folks. So I'm projecting. And now I'm looking at my projection. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I really think he's going to get this. But yeah,
130 catches.
I'm going to go 87 catches, which is a lot. 87 catches, 978 rushing yard or receiving yards, receiving yards, 150 rushing yards, and 5 total touchdowns. So he's not going to be like amazing, but I feel like he's going to have weeks where you're like, what? Braxton Berrios, 100 rushing or 100 receiving yards, 50 rushing yards, 100 kickoff return yardage, and 2 touchdowns. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I think he's going to have weeks like that. So I am pumped for Braxton.
All right. I'm gonna reluctantly cede the floor to you because I mean I can jump in if you want. Mine here.
Well, I've got my guy. I mean,
mine was Renfro. So I can talk about Renfro.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Renfro was going to be the high here. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard. Let's be honest. I know we like to think of everybody here, but nobody's taking this opportunity to give props to Cooper Kupp, who is going to be the obvious front runner here to win Leather Diaper of the Year. The guy comes in looking like he's a league vet of 34 years when he came into the league, and he's grown from there. He never goes to fast food or restaurants. He always brings his lunch with him. He has
breakfast with
2
Stafford.
pieces of white bread and ham.
He entered the league in his mid-50s. I was doing the math there.
I'm saying mentally, he came into the mentally and physically looking. I mean, just grizzled. He looks like he's been in the Alaskan wilderness for 3 years before he got to the league. But this is a guy, and he's again great teammate. Loves every player. I mean, there's not a hateful bone in his body, and he's always trying hard. So, I mean, Cooper Kupp, I'm going to cede the floor to Sam to talk about my second favorite, Hunter Renfrow.
Well, I want to say about Kupp real fast. I mean, I had Kupp in our league last year. Truly one of the, I mean, and I say this without any kind of sort of
braggadocio
nature.
Yeah.
Not even braggadocio, because it's just what is there to like.
He was so good. Oh my god!
It's not like I paid.
Yeah, I had him on my team.
Well, no, but
yeah.
All I mean is you pay a little more attention and close attention to the players on your team. I think that is truly one of the best receiving seasons of all time.
Oh yeah,
in any era.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's like top 3, I think. Maybe it might even be the number 1. Maybe Jerry Rice might have had a better one.
So there's probably a season or 2 in there of Rice or Moss or whomever that would be against it or maybe ahead of it. But like,
I don't know, man. He had 20 total touchdowns. Like, that's fucking insane.
And the other thing that I think I know this shouldn't necessarily be a tiebreaker, but like the fact that he then continued it in the playoffs and had a really great playoffs, 4-game playoff run there to complement the regular season. I mean, it's just hard to imagine if you look at his 21 games last year, it's hard to imagine how a receiver in the modern era can have a better season than that.
I know.
I mean,
and in some ways,
nobody can guard him. He's always open.
It wasn't
fast.
Yeah.
He's quick. It wasn't 17 games though. I will say, like his stats are a little bit inflated, but not much.
But he would still he would take it to 16. He would still crush it.
Yeah. No, it's true. No, it's true.
The 17.
I'm a Jerry Rice defender, so I'm just trying to like kind of cut it down just a little bit.
Well,
I do think there's an idea that any talk on how great a wide receiver is, it's like, all right, who's second place?
Right.
Yeah, that's all I wanted.
I
wanted recognition of that.
I wonder a
Oh,
little bit if you're looking at where he's being drafted this year. Like I've looked in redraft snake drafts where he's being taken like second or third overall.
I feel
I
like that's a
wonder
little
if that's
high.
a little bit of a sucker bet, or if you're paying $60 for him in auction, like are you paying for last year's stats? What are the odds that he's going to do that again? I think he could still have a great season this year. Don't get
Yeah,
me
yeah,
wrong, and he clearly has an incredible Stafford
yeah,
out of the gate. But anybody who drafts him in any type of league this year, who's expecting, I would say, guys, honestly, even like 85% or 80% of his 21, I think could be disappointed. So
yeah.
I want to give a
Allen
shout out to
Robinson
Cap.
too. Allen
Yeah, Allen
Robinson.
Robinson is there too now.
He
But with
supposedly is tearing
Renfro,
up camp.
Renfro's got that kind of insurance agent kind of look, like we've talked about. A great route runner, high volume, certainly a PPR
Tiny.
machine. Can run these little quick kinds of routes. And Simmons, I think you put that well, comparing him to Welker, because I do think McDaniels will sort of look at him like a Welker or an Edelman. No particular reason that he would compare him to just those two players. I'm just
No.
two guys off the top of my head that I thought of. And
From
I
the
think
previous system that McDaniels was coaching. Yeah.
for sure, for no other reason, definitely system only. But so I
Yep.
think that Adams being added as well, and then Waller, you could say, well, that can mess up the production tree. I think that'll have guys a little more open and give them a little more opportunity.
Yeah.
So I would expect Renfro to do quite well.
Yeah, it's just about Derek Carr. Can he support three like fantasy monsters? I'm a little shaky on it, but I think he can. He definitely can sling it, and I think McDaniels has proven that he can coach up passing quarterbacks. All right, well, let's go on to God of the Gridiron.
God of the Gridiron.
Okay, this one was difficult. There's a lot of obvious picks. But I'm going to piggyback on what my good friend, Mr. Chris Kemp, said about Javonte Williams. I think this guy has the potential, if Melvin Gordon stubs his toe, retires, God forbid, something happens health-wise to him. I don't wish that on anybody, but if he gets injured, I think Javonte will be amazing. But even if he doesn't get injured, even if he's like, he comes in, he gets like, 5 to 8 carries a game and kind of cuts into Javonte's workload, I still feel like Javonte is going to be awesome. You got Russell Wilson coming in. The offense is going to be a lot better. They have a lot of good pieces there. They've always have. They've had awful quarterback play, and their offensive line grades out really well. I love Javonte Williams. He's like a quintessential 3-down back. This isn't like a dark horse. This is like a lot of people feel the way I do about him. I really think he's gonna have like over 2,000 total yards, like 18 touchdowns, like 500 receiving yards in there. And I really think this guy is poised for a breakout. I'm excited for him.
I like it. He's a fun player, and at his highs last year, you saw, especially when Gordon was hurt, like you're saying.
Oh
Simmons,
my God, he was so good.
He was really good. He had, I think it was the Sunday night game against the Chiefs where he had a full workload, and he just looked like, speaking of, I'm not going to say Kemp, whatever you said, he'd been in the league for 35 years or whatever it is you were getting at there. But he looked like he looked like a veteran back, and someone who was comfortable with contact and breaking tackles. And so I think that's a good pick.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So this is
Javonte Williams was he just has that huge pillar in his way in Melvin Gordon, who I think is being very much slept on because everybody's on the Javonte Williams hype train, including myself. But I think that backfield, whoever controls that backfield, especially this year behind Russell Wilson, it's going to be in line for a lot of work.
I thought you were going to say like Melvin Gordon was going to unseat Javonte. I thought you were doing the doing a more hot take where it's like, I think Javonte, he's going to get 20% of the workload, and Melvin Gordon's going to get 80% of the workload.
I'm not saying. I mean, Javonte looked good last year when you couldn't get him down. So many plays where he breaks tackles. It was hard to get Javonte Williams down. I think him in his own role, he would shine, but that's just not the way the NFL is going now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully he'll break free.
I guess my pick is with Green Bay the way it is, I don't know who Aaron Rodgers is going to throw to this year. People are like talking about Allen Lazard being the beneficiary of all this extra targets that have been vacated from Devontae Adams leaving. People are hyping Romeo Doubs, this rookie that has, that fell flat at the combine. His numbers just don't look like he's going to be a successful wide receiver in the NFL. Where are they going to? Who's going to be the offensive weapon? It's got to be Aaron Jones. I mean, who else is Aaron Rodgers going to trust? Who has his trust? Who has the rapport the way Aaron Jones does? He's a great pass catcher. I think he's right up there with Alvin Kamara. I'm not going to put him. I think Alvin Kamara is better at pass catching, but it's not as great as you would expect. And I've been saying that since he came into the league. Aaron Jones. And I think this is his year to take that running back one title and run with it this year.
I like that. I think he's gonna be good. Yeah, he's gonna get a lot of receptions. Green Bay does have a late bye. I think it's a week 14 bye. So that I got burned on that last year. So that's something to keep in mind. But other than that, AJ Dillon as well.
Yeah.
AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
Real quick, are we doing week 17 now that we're 17 games? Is our fantasy football
we're
going
not
to
sure
week
yet.
17?
That hasn't been determined.
Yeah.
We need to figure that out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the Jones and Dillon combo. I think they complement each other well. Obviously, I think Green Bay certainly has some issues at wideout, like you said, and that could be placing some unfair expectations and burden on Lazard, losing Adams and losing MVS.
Do you like Romeo Doubs?
Dubs
or whatever is however you pronounce his last name?
I mean, he's a rookie, like the track record on rookie receivers coming in and flourishing right away is not super strong.
But do you like him out of college?
I didn't really know much about him.
Yeah,
honestly.
same.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought this award, is this like, sorry, I was looking at the sheet. Is this like fantasy MVP?
Yeah. But maybe like I was thinking maybe not the most obvious picks because Jonathan Taylor,
right?
Pretty obvious, or like.
So okay. So in
No,
that
you can still go with it. Yeah, just go with Jonathan Taylor.
Barry Sanders. No. Actually, I think Jonathan Taylor is a little bit overrated. Actually,
Ooh, I kind of wish they would give
Naeem Hines.
I just want them to give Naeem Hines the ball more. That's all I care
think he's
about.
a little bit overrated. But my pick here, and it's extremely generic, and it's kind of the opposite of you guys, especially you, Simmons, taking more of a leap. If I'm thinking like, okay, Simmons, what did we say in the last one? Gun to my head. If someone has a ball and chain and they're circling me and we're out beyond cell phone reception and they're about to attack me, and
a mace, someone's about to smash your head with a mace,
like,
or an axe, a battle axe.
Gun to my head. Who would I pick the fantasy MVP? So I think very broadly, and again, safe pick, but I think it's going to be a QB from the AFC. I think you could pick 5 or 6 guys there. I went personally with Herbert But if you told me it was Allen, I would not be surprised. If you told
Mm.
me it was Burrow, I would not be surprised. If you told me it was Mahomes or Lamar, I would not be surprised. I'd be pretty surprised if it was Davis Mills, right? So not every AFC QB, but a lot of them,
Yeah.
I think, would be
AFC
categorized.
West. AFC
AFC
West.
West. I'm picking Herbert because, and that this is relying on the Chargers to maybe turn back the tide on some of the bad luck that they've had on as a franchise over a number of years. Herbert is a massive talent. He's got a huge arm. He's got really talented skill positions. It seems to me, Kemp, you could probably speak to this in more depth. The Chargers were pretty aggressive in free agency at shoring up some of the gaps they had on their roster overall. I feel like that should put the Chargers, San Diego. I refuse to call them LA. They're San Diego. I feel like they should put San Diego in a bit of a position, certainly to make the playoffs. And I think Herbert, as a result of that, and as a result of needing to be in pretty consistent shootouts with people like Mahomes and Russell Wilson and McDaniels and Carr's Oakland team or Las Vegas team, whatever. I think that puts Herbert in a position to be fantasy MVP.
Kemp's calling you out on the chat right now.
Don't be fooled, guys. It's Alvin Kamara is who he's really saying.
Come back from the
He
mic.
likes Alvin Kamara. He's going Alvin Kamara.
For the record, Alvin Kamara was probably a lower pick in total production last year than Aaron Jones or Javonte Williams, wasn't he? So I could pick.
He had a pretty bad year last year.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. And notice how he was not on my team.
I mean, he was.
Hey Kim, come back from the mic. You're so loud.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It's
all right. It's all distorted.
Remember to do this.
Just wheel back a couple more feet.
It's all good. It's all good. It just gets when you're that close, it gets distorted.
Picking a QB for your god of the gridiron.
Well, I thought it was MVP.
Wow. Doing the evasive Kevin McCarthy answer, which is fine. This is fine.
All right, well, let's move on for sake of time. Let's move on to worst trade.
Worst trade.
This is I love this. Sam pitched this. Worst trade you've ever made, whether it be fantasy, basketball, football cards, food, DVDs, books, like sandwiches, whatever. For this, I'm going to go with when I traded Chris Kemp, my wonderful, beautiful Benjamin Franklin biography by Walter Isaacson, for his biography of John Adams. So boring. All these stupid letters back and forth with his wife. It's just like snooze fest. I would fall asleep. It was great. It was a great sleep aid. That was great.
R.I.P. to David McCullough, by the way, just passed.
Yes. Thank you. It was terror. I mean, he could have picked anybody to do a biography on all his years living. Probably the greatest American historian / biographer of our lifetime. He could have picked any American, and he excluded Benjamin Franklin.
I think because Isaacson did such a great job.
He did not do Benjamin Franklin.
I feel like I'm in school.
He's like
Franklin is so much more interesting. He's so much cooler than John.
All that kite flying is just not my style. I mean, he was a terrible father.
Simmons, can you talk about Franklin like Chris Russo or Stephen A. Smith?
I'm not going to even try to do a Stephen A. impression because it will come off probably pretty racist. And Russo, I can't really do a good Russo, but Franklin was he was a worldly man. He basically he had 5 different careers. He was the greatest American of all time, I would say.
I mean, I will say that Walter Isaacson really made his libido shine through at an old age.
You keep talking about this.
The guy was a horny as they get
All right.
in the 18th century.
Apologies
And
to the
couldn't-
families.
and couldn't score.
Families
He
driving
couldn't
around
score
with
in
this pod
Paris.
on the old.
I think you might have been misinterpreting what was written. He was honestly kind of
He was
asexual.
bathing girls. He was bathing the salon chicks. Like they were taking him to his house, and he was like having conversation while they were bathing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that's what I'm saying. He was more of an asexual figure. He wasn't like the way you're describing. He wasn't like this creep.
And then he's like tried to pop it in and like, no, Mr. Franklin, no, you're in friend zone.
Again, I think your warped, deranged, depraved mind might have been inserting your own thoughts into that biography. It was definitely a G-rated biography, suitable for all ages. Even a newborn baby. can read it.
I had this vision that he walked around the streets of Paris with a boner.
Well,
at all times.
That's coming
And
from
gout.
you. Yeah, he had gout, which is disgusting. Anyways,
Yeah.
Sam, what do you got for worst
There's a
trade?
kid in the back of a car. He's like, I thought this was a football podcast.
Yeah. Somehow we need to do this title and somehow get history involved in it. The
Yeah,
history hour or something.
yeah. This with a little history, a little dash of history.
Little dash. Yep.
Yeah, this is just a
Fun for
break.
all
We're
ages.
gonna get back to the football. This is just
That's our niche.
It's a little break.
So that was a permanent book trade.
Yeah, and I ended up
No, because I gave you back you
never gave it back.
It wasn't a permanent book because
Now
I
we-
don't
now we
have
get
the
to the
Ben
source
Franklin
of it.
book. I gave
You
it back
never
to
gave-
him, and
you
he
never
never
gave
gave me back the John Adams book.
I think I gave that away, or maybe give it to my dad.
He's like, I'm keeping it. I love it.
You
too much.
never gave me back Franklin, man. I think we just
I'm telling
decided you were like,
You
this
know,
book
I
is so
don't
much
have- I
better
don't
than
have
John
the Franklin
Adams.
book.
I don't have the Adams book, so
You son of a bitch. Give it back.
I'll get you like a mass market paperback or something that's like $2. It's like a generic version of the book. It's the pages are like the types all off center and stuff. Anyway,
Write a very quick, hastily scrawled message in the.
I'll write you a longhand version, my version of the John Adams. It'll be like 1 page long, just a couple words. This sucks.
Spell Kemp's last name wrong. To my friend Chris Kemp, my longtime friend.
All right, so Sam, what's your worst trade?
Okay, so my worst trade actually, and the genesis of this was thinking about cards and basketball cards. So I traded with my cousin when I was about 12 or 13 years old. My cousins all live a few hours away, down in the state in Kentucky. We all grew up together, collected mostly basketball cards at the same time. And so when I was about 12 or 13, I traded a Kobe Bryant rookie card of this like specialty type of Fleer brand. I don't want to get too nitty gritty with the brands here, but like late 90s, like very high end card brand. The packs were kind of expensive. Kobe, I wasn't really sure. Kobe was like 19 or 20 years old, but he had this like really fancy looking retro Lou Alcindor / Kareem card that had a really fancy, it looked like almost like a bulletproof case with like a screw on it. And it looked like a kind of old fancy card, but really what it was basically like a fake antique. So I traded this Kobe rookie for this like fake antique piece. And I looked up the prices of these in the Beckett card price guide in the last 5 years. And let's just say that the last time I checked, the vintage pretend antique piece was under $10, and the Kobe, I want to say, as of like, and of course, with the tragedy of him being killed, this could have even gone up. I want to say in like 2017 or 2018, this rookie card was at either like $500 or $600.
I thought you were gonna say like 500,000 or something.
No,
like
no, not that bad.
Okay. Well, that's good at least.
$500 or $600 for a middle schooler. That might as well be right. Like,
that's like
yeah. So horrible trade. Just one of the worst of all time. When you trade rook, as you may know, if you guys were card collectors, the ultimate risk and forecast is when you're trading rookies, because you could be trading Darius Hayward Bay or Sam Darnold, or you could be trading Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. Obviously, that was a swing and a miss for your boy here.
Oh, that's tough, man. That is rough.
Okay.
Yeah, at least it wasn't like $1 million or something, because like some of these cards now are going for
crazy,
just insane prices. I'm honestly surprised that rookie card, the Kobe, went for just that amount. I thought it would go
for all I know, it could be higher, but yeah, no, it's not one of those ones that's like astronomically valued.
Okay, cool. Kempster?
Yeah. Well, I immediately, whenever I think of bad trades, I immediately go with Sam, because I was huge into card collecting. First baseball cards.
I thought you meant like a trade I was involved in. What?
No. Those are trades that usually go in my favor.
Okay. Yeah.
But I brought my baseball cards to school. This was 4th grade, and somebody stole them all. And so I switched from doing baseball to basketball, and so kind of doing basketball. Isaiah Ryder had just won the slam dunk contest.
Yeah, T-Wolves.
And I still had a Reggie Jackson card for 1972 Reggie Jackson card. And I traded a 1972 Reggie Jackson card for Isaiah Ryder.
Jesus.
I mean, granted, some of it was like, I wanted to get rid of baseball.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, Isaiah Ryder. He had this dunk where he's like, he threw it in between the legs and like slammed it. Oh,
that was amazing.
Slam dunk. That was back in the day when all-star games meant something. Okay. When it was fun.
They've never meant anything, but that's back when you could. It was a sense of pride and purpose. Now it's just all about having fun and being with your boys.
Okay. All right.
And colluding to be on the same team the following off season.
Simmons, don't take the bait here.
No, we'll do it. We'll do an NBA pod another time.
Cut his mic. Producers, cut his mic.
I actually don't like Durant. What Durant is doing right now, I really hate it, to be honest. So he's acting. He's really acting like a fool. But
he's turning into the Rudy Giuliani of the NBA.
I mean, his popularity is taking a hit.
Comparison.
I mean, just one person that is riding high. It's got the good graces of the entire population, and now he's just squandering all of it.
Durant has misplayed his hand pretty badly, and it's not looking good for him. I will say one thing real fast, Kemp, that you might appreciate if you were a fellow collector. So I was telling someone this recently, and I don't know how this popped back into my head, but when I was even younger than when I made this terrible trade, you guys, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, both of you guys are the younger sibling, right?
Yes.
And I am the oldest sibling. So I didn't have anyone ahead of me, obviously, to kind of explain things to me sometimes. But I saw something on television.
But you totally got your brother and ripped him off on trade after trade.
No, that's not true. But thank you for assuming. Also, if you're trading with your brother, you're all in the same house. Like, what does it really matter? But so there was someone in my neighborhood, and I saw this thing on television where I was like offering a trade, and I saw a guy say this line, like trying to negotiate in some form, and he said, "Take it or leave it." Right now, as an oldest kid who was like 8, I didn't know what that meant, but when I saw what it looked like on television, I thought it meant like you just put your ace down, like you put your trump card down, and the guy has to be like, "Oh shit." Right. So I'm like negotiating cards with this kid in the neighborhood, and we're trying, and this was baseball cards. And I go, I mean, take it or leave it. And he goes, leave it. I go, what? He's like, leave it. Like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you said take it or leave it, which means take the deal or leave the deal. And I'm leaving the deal. And I was like, fuck, I didn't think that's what that meant. I thought if I just said that, you automatically had to do the trade.
That means it's done.
Yeah.
I said it. Where it's done,
I wave a wand. You give me all of your good cards.
And I slam it down on the table.
My terrible cards.
I say, take it.
It's an unwritten rule. I like it.
Metaphoria.
As you guys know, I love movies. Okay. So I know you guys like movies too. I think most people like movies, actually, now that I think about it. I think it's a pretty common thing. So this season for me, Matt Ryan is like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. Okay. Ryan commits one last act of heroism by putting up his last noteworthy fantasy season, throwback season, elevating Colt studs Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. He's saving them from Carson Wentz, basically. He's upgrading from Carson Wentz, just like Eastwood when he sacrifices himself to save those troubled Minnesotan youths from the gang members before getting gunned down by those same aforementioned gang members, okay? So you got two crusty old geezers. They make one last heroic stand and then die in a blaze of glory. So after this season, Matt Ryan's going to basically die. Not literally, but in terms of NFL. So
I think that could be a prognostication too.
Yeah, so that is, yeah, there you go. It's a prognostication and a metaphor. So yeah.
Metaphors and dates of death only on Gaudy.
He's gonna die on September 10th, 2023. Set your clocks.
Boy, I like it. I do think Matt Ryan is like a really interesting signing for that team. When you consider how weak that division is.
Oh yeah.
The Titans certainly
and the upgrade from
gotten any better. The Texans are a mess. The Jaguars are a mess. I feel like that's the Colts division to lose this year. And Ryan is a guy who certainly has had his share of kind of ups and downs. And the downs aren't even really him being bad. It's just him being kind of a little disappointing, I would say.
Yeah.
But,
well, nothing was more disappointing than, I don't know if you guys remember that last game for the Colts when they had to win to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or something.
In Jacksonville.
It was like one of the most, that was like Phoenix Suns game 7 versus the Mavericks level collapse.
That's a great comp because they didn't just lose, they got obliterated.
And it was against a horrible team, and it was to get in the playoffs, and Carson Wentz was like the worst version of Carson Wentz you can possibly ask for. So
which is the normal version of Carson Wentz.
No, that's pretty fair. So Ryan's going to be an upgrade, and I think he's going to. I don't think Jonathan Taylor gets that many TDs again, probably, but he's going to make Michael Pittman better. We talked about Nyheim Hines, maybe. I don't know. Probably one of those tight ends or both of them could have decent together, combined as one, could have a decent end of the year stat line. So I think he's going to be better than Phillip Rivers was, right? Probably. We'll see.
The Colts are kind of in a unique situation. When has there been another team that's had 4 years, 4 different QBs? Or if you just go through Phillip Rivers, 3 aging QBs back to back to back, year after year after year. It's I don't know if it's meaningful of anything, but it is kind of a interesting situation they're in.
Yeah, it is. It is a unique situation.
Yeah, because it's almost like if they think that, like, they were spoiled so long by having essentially 20 combined years of Manning and Luck, and they kind of figure if we can't get Manning or Luck as our cornerstone franchise player, we might as well just kind of. It's almost like sort of what an NBA team can do at times, which is let's just get a veteran on a short deal rather than try to develop someone if we're ready to win now. I kind of like it as a strategy.
I like it too. It could work this year.
Yeah.
It seems like they're primed. Like you said, the division is pretty weak.
Yeah.
And AJ Brown just left the Titans. So
a lot of Michael Pittman hype. Not sure that he's quite as good as he's being billed, but
I'm not a huge fan, but he might have a lot of opportunity. I kind of agree with you, but I think the hype videos are starting to affect me because I was watching this video of Matt Ryan, like talking to all the young receivers, and he was like coaching on the field, talking a lot to Michael Pittman. He was in his ear. He's like, yeah, when you're in the back of the end zone, you kind of bump into the guy and then catch it in the corner. And it's just like, wow, he's like he's a teacher. He's kind of lighthearted. I was like, I want that guy on my team. Obviously, Trey Lance, I'd much rather have him, but yeah. So I think they're going to be good. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, how good did we think Matt Ryan was last year overall? I mean, I know the Atlanta Falcons sucked, but there's got to be this sense that if you are that good of a QB, you can you overcome the deficiencies. Like you make the team better. And I don't know if Matt Ryan was able to do that with Atlanta.
Well, I think it was just like a cumulative effect where it's like every year you're getting banged in the head with like a 9-pound hammer, and like because they've been having year after year since that Super Bowl run that's been mediocre, and I just feel like
that O-line has been disastrous.
Yeah, and he's been like running for his life and stuff. So the O-line and for the Colts is like amazing. The running game is great. And he's going to
that is the one thing that gives me pause is that Matt Ryan is that a product of the Atlanta Falcons system where they just stunk, or is that some Matt Ryan involved with that? Real quick, another thing is Matt Stafford tendonitis in his elbow. What? How are you guys taking that? Because that's something that does kind of give me pause. Insofar as like, all right, if I'm looking, who am I going to? Is it Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp or Jamar Chase, or like figuring out ways to distinguish between the three in your rankings? Does tendonitis in Matt Stafford's elbow change anything for you guys, or are y'all like? Whatever.
I mean,
wait till the season.
It's hard to know based on reports, but the first thing I was sort of thinking about when I was reading some of that was just how star-crossed Allen Robinson has been. He like starts in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles throwing to him to Chicago, where he has an amalgam of mediocrity getting in the ball, and finally he like signs in this great position, right, where Robert Woods goes to the Titans. Odell Beckham obviously blows out his knee in mid-February, so won't be back till the second half of the season, and even then we're not sure where he's going to sign. So the availability and the path to touches is so clearly there for Allen Robinson, you would think. And then all of a sudden, this guy who's clearly the best QB he would have ever played with starts having a bulky elbow. So.
Yeah. Well, some breaking news. Cue the drop. Matt Stafford is going to be testing his elbow in practice today. So we're going to find out.
We'll see.
A 60-snap test, they say. Sean McVay says. So he's been sitting out, and but supposedly he looks great in practice. It's just like one of those things where they're kind of managing it. I don't think it's like a Roethlisberger elbow thing yet, where like for a while it was, his elbow is kind of hurting him. Like, what's going to happen? Oh shit, he's getting surgery. I don't think we're there yet, but who knows, man?
And I always take glowing reports with a grain of salt this time of year. Everybody looks fantastic.
Yeah. Well, what's your metaphor, Kemp? Let's hear your metaphor.
Well, I mean, I guess 2022 NFL season and Tom Brady is going to be like, a Catholic priest looking over the new batch of choir boys. Very exciting. I expect the unexpected. Anything could happen, and whatever happens stays in Tampa.
Yeah.
just like it stays inside the church.
Sounds like a variation of when you started talking about Neverland Ranch for no reason at our friend's wedding.
But
always
we
in
were
the
talking
tip
about
of
Michael
Kim's
Jackson.
tongue.
There's Michael Jackson was referenced there.
Yeah.
Always on the mind, eh, Kim?
Can I give you mine? I'll give you one quick one and then an extended one here.
Yeah.
So the quick one is Lamar Jackson is Anton Chigurh, serial killer from No Country for Old Men, played by Javier Bardem. I think Lamar is going to be on a revenge tour this year. I think he's going to go up there week 1 with Joe Flacco as the Jets QB, and he's going to look at him and he's just going to say, "What's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss?" Right? When they're there flipping the coin. I expect him to get revenge. The more extended one I would like to offer. You guys are both familiar with the much loved sketch show I Think You Should Leave by Tim Robinson. I'd like to give the 21-22 off-season coffin flop award, where the bodies are falling out of coffins to the Arizona Cardinals. So to read the Arizona Cardinals
I like it.
I don't know what to tell you, bud. We're just filming the funerals where the bodies fly out.
I've been waiting a long time for a hit on Corn Cob TV.
I'll kill you.
I didn't fucking do this. No, but so the Cardinals, just to recap, so they lose Chase Edmonds to free agency. James Conner obviously had a great year. You're kind of relying on ridiculously high touchdown volume. He had a lot of 1-yard touchdowns. Still had a great season though, right?
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins gets suspended for PEDs. You lose Christian Kirk to free agency. So you go from this pretty deep receiving core. AJ Green's pretty old, but he's still there. You go from this pretty reasonably deep room to not so much. Rondale Moore, I still think, is a pretty significant talent, but they didn't seem to really use him as much or as effectively as I thought they would last year.
Some water bug, dark horse.
Very much so. But
He's got ultimate, a little Debo in him.
For sure, yeah, I agree with you.
Very small amount, but yeah.
The centerpiece of the coffin flop, though, is the Kyler Murray contract disaster, where someone decided it would be a good idea to publicly say that Kyler Murray has to study for 4 hours a day or a week or whatever it is if he's going to get $200 million. Just like the
independent study.
Yeah, I love how Ian Rappaport reported it out as though it's like, oh, look at this. What a great thing.
I mean, and it's the rare thing, maybe not rare, but it's the kind of thing that I thought, like, it manages to make everyone involved look bad. Like, it makes Kyler look like he doesn't really do the work he needs to do to be a good QB.
Because he don't.
It makes the Cardinals to do that publicly, I just think a terrible negotiating strategy. And it was just sort of the cherry on top of the coffin flop that was the offseason for the Cardinals.
Well, if one side didn't leak it,
I would say
like nobody would have ever found out about it.
Well, but I've just, the fact that they even put it in there, I think was just really silly. But like, I would say that they are in a position. I think they're like, if we were to have a category of like team who made the playoffs last year, who's most likely to just have an abjectly disastrous 2022, like, going from playoffs to like 5-12, I think the Cardinals would be pretty high on my list.
Yeah. The thing about Kyler Murray, like, it's fascinating. I don't know if he did this in college, but just how he starts out so amazing, like gangbusters, and then he crumbles in the latter half of the year. Like, it's kind of infuriating as somebody who's had him on fantasy teams before.
Well, did you see that the chart that went viral of the guy who pointed out, he looked at Kyler's statistics? Did you guys see this?
No, I don't think I've seen.
He charted Kyler's stats for the last, 2 or 3 years.
Oh, I did see that.
And every year when the Call of Duty game came out in November, his stats fucking plummet after Call of Duty is released.
Oh, that's so funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, so but to push back on what Sam was saying, if that is it, like, do you blame Arizona for having to put language like that into a contract when you've got stats like that, Call of Duty come out and he just tanks as far as
Well,
his
I'm
study time.
I don't think we know enough about what he does behind the scenes to say either way. But I would just say,
but the fact that you would put that, feel like you would have to put that in the contract, does speak volumes about, okay, what exactly is Kyler Murray doing that has got the Arizona team so upset or so miffed?
I understand what you're saying, but you guys know as well as I do, like thinking of the professional relationships that you guys have had that end well and sustain when when public shame gets involved, like that just doesn't in your job. I just can't think of like examples where that works.
So, and I agree with you, Sam, but
yeah, it's
so like which side leaked this to the press? Because neither side, it looks bad on either side. Like, why would Kyler's side release it, but why would Arizona's side release it?
If this was all the coffin
I would say
flops,
Arizona's
this was the coffin flop. This was the one where the nude body came out and rolled down.
Fuck, he's falling.
I gotta say, like watching Kyler on the field,
because they ain't got no soul.
Watching him, he does like throw little hissy fits. It reminds me of NBA players where he's just like, he'll like fuck up horribly, and then you'll show him. He'll just be like, like just kind of like throwing. He's like this little guy, just like little Napoleon character, just like throwing a big fit, and like
he released this long statement when they were going back and forth on a contract, and it's just like, dude, you are so think so highly of yourself to think that anybody in your audience is going to read this 1,000-word statement that you just put down on why you love Arizona, but they're the ones at fault here for not wanting to re-sign you or whatever it was. But
is what happens to him.
Was a rough look. The playoff game against the Rams, he just like shut down.
Yeah,
Richie Tenenbaum style.
Yeah, it was like flop sweat central. But does he like is it what happens is does he get like a little hurt and then he doesn't see, like, what I see is he gets a little bit hurt, then he's like, okay, I can't run anymore. And so when you take away his running, he's like basically like a homeless man's Drew Brees out there because he's so small that he can't, like his running is what sets him apart so that he can't move around as much and can't like buy time to make big throws or like pick up extra yards for a first down. Is that like what you think prevents it, like in the later halves of these seasons? Is that what like stops him from being his like normally effective self? I think that
could be part of it. I also feel like too, even when he's not hurt, he is an incredible athlete. But I feel like he, even as athletic and as elusive as he is, he still seems to, in whatever it is, year 3 or year 4, he underestimates NFL speed at times. And if he can like keep the play going for 4 seconds or whatever, he kind of just thinks, oh, well, I'll just keep it going for 8 seconds. And the thing about Kyler Murray, I think, is that a lot of times with his skill set, you forget that he actually is like 5'7" or 5'8" or however tall he actually is until an NFL defender gets a hand on him. And when he gets sacked, like,
oh yeah, it's brutal.
The way he gets thrown down is not how like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Right. It's like someone takes him and just like stuffs him in a locker.
He gets lifted up and like thrown, like pushed down, like crushed.
Yeah. And the second someone even gets a hand on him, he is toast. So I think there is an injury concern there, but I also do think, and again, total speculation from far away, like there is a little bit of arrogance there in the pocket sometimes where it's like, oh, I can keep this play going. And it's like, these guys are all also professional athletes. Like you can't, maybe in the Big 12, you could sit back there for 9 seconds against Texas Tech or whomever. Interestingly, Texas Tech, who was coached by his current
coach. Can do that though. It's not like he can't do that.
I mean, I don't think he can do it.
Look at that. Look at that game versus Buffalo. Was not maybe it was 2 seasons ago.
He does it sometimes, but I think more often than not, he will assume he can do it. He can extend plays where he takes a lot of sacks or he has to throw the ball away. I mean, I saw this a lot as someone who had Arizona players on the team in the last couple of years, skill players, watching Kyler closely, it's like he does have issues with getting rid of the ball sometimes, and it puts him in harm's way. And I think it actually also puts him in a position to get back to what you said, Ben, to get him injured.
See, I was gonna say it's just like it's the 17-week season. It starts to stack up. You get hurt. You want to play through it because you're a tough guy, and it starts to add up. But then after the contract came out and those details got released, and now this graph that you were talking about how Call of Duty comes out, I'm more and more convinced that it's something to do with work ethic, with him, just not putting the hours in. And you can't quantify that, but it's just, I feel like that is a big issue with the way he prepares for games.
I heard he's reading the Ben Franklin biography, so he's
hopefully. I mean, if he's reading Ben Franklin, like, I'm going to give him credit. I'll give him props. I mean,
late nights,
Ben Franklin
because Ben Franklin is a founding father. I mean, I don't want to disparage the man's
scholar, name. Inventor, Kyler, runner, thrower, baseball player.
Yeah. Well, fellas, I think that's about it. I mean,
yeah, I got to bounce. I got to get my work
just
computer.
One last quick award.
Yep.
And I think this will be fun, and this will have us. This will maybe have us a little less anxious in terms of who could bid whom up. I want to hear both of your bust of the year, fantasy bust of the year.
Kim, go ahead, because we gotta run soon.
Yeah. All right. So you go a lot of places here. If I'm looking at let's call it a top 20 running back or wide receiver that I think is going to disappoint. Something about Joe Mixon. Like I don't think where he's being drafted, I don't think he's going to give you the return. Sorry, could I also go somewhere else?
Sure.
I actually changed my mind.
Edit that. We'll edit that.
I'm going to change my mind there.
No, you can't.
I'm going Najee Harris. I just think that the more I'm reading about Pittsburgh, the more it just seems like a shit show there. And even if you give Najee Harris 300 carries, or like you give him the volume, like if you're only making like 2 yards, 3 yards a pop, like, and eventually you're going to get hurt. Yeah. I don't know. I'm lower on Najee than the rest of everybody. I can see where Najee does really good. I'm low on him.
Yeah. Well, looking at I always, for my pick, like I always have trouble paying up for running backs because they get hurt so often.
Yeah, but I'll still anything below $60, I'm out.
So I'm a little concerned. I'll be honest, like I enjoy watching Derrick Henry play. He's a beast. He crushes men's souls on the daily. And if anyone can do it, I think he can. But he's a lot of carries on that body. I think he's eclipsed the 30-year mark. And he was hurt last year. He came back. He was pretty effective in the playoffs, I thought. But I just think it's a long season. He's had lower body injuries, obviously. I mean, most players do, but I just think I cannot invest. He's like the second highest running back, $65, I believe, is his projection here. Jonathan Taylor, $77. Jesus Christ. But it's just really hard for me to shell out that kind of coin for a guy that, he could be amazing for like 6 weeks, but then he could get injured and just be out the rest of the year. And also, honestly, man, Christian McCaffrey scares me too. I mean, I love the guy. He's elite water bug, but he's a small man. He's in the perfect world, he probably wouldn't be getting as much usage as he's getting. He probably would be getting maybe 1.5 times what Darren Sproles got. Again, Darren Sproles, sorry, always on my mind. But I think he's going to have a lot of usage again, and he's going to he could suffer from that. We'll see.
Yeah. Simmons, sorry, our friend Kemp had to duck out there.
Yeah, he's got a meeting.
So, yeah, actually Henry is one of the players I was looking at. So I don't want to. I think that was a lot of what you said echoes what I think. So I'll go Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you mentioned that $77. That just seems like outrageous to me. Obviously, he had an incredible season last year. I just am dubious that he can repeat it. I think that the relative compared to some of his peers, the relatively low pass volume is always something that's going to like detract me a little bit. And I will say, and I know your sort of broader philosophy is being what it is. Okay, putting that aside, I don't know how you feel, Simmons, but like I feel like looking at some of the ranks this year, and going back 5, 10, 12, 15 years, I cannot remember a year where I was less enthused and less interested in some of the top guys who are listed at top running back. It just feels like some years the running backs at the top, even if we say, okay, well, I don't want to spend this much money on player X, but I understand why someone would. I just think there are so many risks with so many of these running backs this year that it's hard for me to see myself forking over some kind of crazy amount with a lot of the question marks. I agree on Mixon and Najee and Henry and McCaffrey and I added Taylor. Even a player like Eckler, who's great. He's been a little bit on the brittle side. I suppose you can say, okay, well, running backs are always supposed to get hurt. But I don't know. Maybe I'm having rose-colored glasses here, but like it just feels like in past years when we've played, if you look at those top 5 backs, you kind of say, all right, those feel like sure things, and I don't think that's true this year.
Yeah, no, it's kind of always been my philosophy ever since I was burned horribly by Sean Alexander, drafting him number 1 overall, and he got like hurt, I think, second week, or third week or something, and it's fucked me so hard. And yeah, I mean, $77 for Jonathan Taylor, that's absurd, and even $52 for Cooper Kupp seems crazy, but
seems like a lot.
He'll probably go for more than that in our league. I mean, Jonathan Taylor could go for more. Who knows? But maybe a lot of people are thinking we're thinking. But yeah, there's a lot of just kind of, question marks in terms of is McCaffrey going to stay healthy? Dalvin Cook usually gets some injuries, although he usually plays through them. And Austin Eckler, I agree. It's like it's weird seeing him, $58 projected. It's just weird seeing him so high up. I know he was amazing last year, but he just seems like he's not injury prone, but he's a small guy. I mean, it just seems like he could get injured pretty easily. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough, man.
If I'm remembering correctly too, Simmons, I think maybe even the first year I played in fantasy in our league, you had a monster team and you swept the playoffs and the regular season. And I think one of the anchors of your team that season, I want to say, was Marshall Faulk on the Rams. And that was a guy who
I don't even remember. Good
80
memory.
or 90 passes a year sometimes at a time
when he was so
never
good.
did that. And, kind of late in his career with St. Louis there. But, you look at this year, I just don't know that there's anybody kind of with that.
Yeah.
Top. Now, of course, cut to December or January, and we could be totally wrong on that. But
yeah, I mean, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, he's got a shot. And Jonathan Taylor won't get the receptions, but he had crazy touchdowns last year. Probably has some negative touchdown regression coming his way, but
surely he does.
You would think so, but he could have a monster year. It's just tough. And like Derrick Henry, I could be eating my words on him. I mean, it's just one of those things where you just never know. I mean, he was putting up like Larry Johnson-esque carry totals, and so it kind of scares me.
Irresponsible volume.
Yeah, and he's starting to get a little older, and we'll see what happens though. Should be a great season.
Part of Zeke's problem too, I would say. Zeke has been used very irresponsibly. And so he's only like 27, but he's got this usage that has made him kind of deteriorate faster than you would think.
Yeah, he's actually, funny enough, his projected cost is $27 as well. So
Gaudy Stats. Gaudy Stats.